5 minutes.
Madam Ambassador, in your role as the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer within the State Department, who do you directly report to?
I report to the Secretary of State.
Do you have an executive team or a set of key leaders that you rely on to fulfill your duties on a day-to-day basis?
My team in my office,
Yeah.
yes.
How many would you say that is?
Oh, everybody in the office, so all 12 and
Okay.
any volunteers I can find.
Do you agree that strict adherence to federal employment law is imperative to effectively performing your duties in the role as Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer?
Absolutely,
This is simply because you want to lead by example, correct?
absolutely.
I presume that the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion has a zero tolerance policy when it comes to discrimination, harassment, and a hostile work environment. Is that true?
That is true.
Has anyone in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion or any of its key leaders, these 12 individuals you referenced, been the subject of any EEO complaints?
I would not be able to comment on that.
Tell me why you would not be able to comment on that.
From knowledge, so when it's in that process, then that is in that process, and
Aren't you notified when there's an EEO complaint with respect to any of the 12 individuals you mentioned?
as a responsible officer, yes.
So have you been notified of any EEO complaints of those 12 individuals or yourself with respect to their performance of duties in the State Department?
Yes,
Okay. Who was that?
I am not at liberty to say that.
Well, that's interesting because you said in your commentary earlier, I wrote this quote down, I focused on transparency, inclusion, and accountability. And you said also, quote, we have eliminated confidentiality clauses.
That's
Did I
correct.
understand you correctly?
If you continue with that quote, it says in the settlement what the outcome was.
All right.
I've
So I
not
didn't
been
ask about
I've
the
not
out-
been informed of outcome.
I didn't ask about the outcome. I
Okay,
asked
right,
about
but I'm
who-
saying that's where the removing the confidentiality provision, that's where that obtains.
Okay, so of those complaints that were filed, what were the outcomes of those complaints?
I have no idea.
You
I have not been informed.
you didn't take it upon yourself to understand how those complaints of EEO problems within your office were actually resolved?
So let me say this. My responsibility and desire is to maintain a workforce and an office that is absolutely free of any sort of discrimination, harassment, bullying, all of those things.
As a person, and I agree with that. I would
Right,
do the
so
same
I'm
thing.
saying
And
that-
as a person that would oversee only 12 individuals
Yes,
in their office,
yes.
if I was running that office, I would want to know how those things were resolved.
And I'm saying to you that by law, first I have to follow the law, that I have not been informed of where the matter stands. The Office of Civil Rights has the lead.
Were you the subject of any of those EEO complaints?
Not that I know of, no.
Well,
I've
you
been
would
a-
know about that, wouldn't you?
Yes, so I'm reviewing.
So are you
yes.
100% certain that you were not the
Yes,
subject of any of those
I am
EEO complaints?
100% certain.
Has any of your supervisors in the State Department ever talked to you about changing your speech or conduct with respect to those that you supervise so that you do not get into a situation where you are in violation of the laws with respect to discrimination, harassment, or hostile work environment?
No,
Have you ever been counseled to change your speech with respect to the way you perform your duties at all?
no,
Have you ever been counseled to change your conduct at all?
no.
Have any allegations with respect to any EEO complaints or problems or allegations led to your departure later this month?
No.
Are you having any internal issues with any of those 12 individuals that led to your departure later this month?
No.
You mentioned earlier that you talked about the confidentiality clauses. Have you been a party to any confidentiality agreements or settlement agreements with respect to your speech or conduct while employed at the State Department?
No.
With respect to the budget, how much money is budgeted to settle any claims internally with respect to harassment, discrimination, or hostile work environment claims?
Within my office?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely none.
Was any money expended last year with respect to that?
Absolutely not.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate your time.
Of course.
Gentleman's time has expired.